All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're acting as objective financial auditors, and we are unpacking a truly chaotic financial ecosystem in this explainer. We're breaking down the balance sheet of a 20-year-old living in Los Angeles. Now, at first glance, the income numbers we're going to talk about might seem pretty impressive, but as we peel back the layers, we're going to uncover a completely precarious financial house of cards. We are looking at exactly what happens when high-risk income streams just suddenly dry up, but the luxury spending and the debt, yeah, they just keep marching right along. I mean, just listen to this. When asked about carrying credit card balances and missing payments, she literally asked, "I'm bad with spending. What's the worst that's going to happen?" It's wild, right? It perfectly captures this dangerous mindset. When you're young and cash is just flowing in freely, it is so easy to feel invincible. But here's the thing. Math doesn't care about your confidence. This is the exact psychological trap that turns a near six-figure income into a full-blown liquidity crisis. So here's our game plan for this audit. First, a complex financial profile. Second, traditional and unconventional income. Third, mounting consumer and auto debt. Fourth, chaotic monthly spending habits. And finally, the financial breaking point. Let's do this. Part 1. A complex financial profile. So, the million-dollar question, or I guess the near six-figure question, is how someone with so much cash flow can end up flat broke. On paper, across all her income streams, she was pulling in the equivalent of a near six-figure salary. And honestly, in a high cost of living city like LA, that is a very solid baseline for survival. Yet, right at the moment of this audit, she literally cannot pay her $1,600 portion of the rent. How does the math break down that violently? Well, we have to dig into where the money was actually coming from. Which brings us to part 2, traditional and unconventional income. Let's break down her two very different worlds of income. First, you've got her traditional job as a chef, bringing in about $3,900 net every month. Then you have her unconventional income, working as a sugar baby or escort, pulling in roughly $5,000 a month. Add that up and you're looking at nearly $9,000 a month in net take-home pay. But here is the absolute catastrophic risk of this specific profile. Both of these streams just stopped. Dead. She passed out at work and is on unpaid medical leave, waiting for a cardiologist to clear her. Boom, there goes the $3,900. And at the exact same time, her primary sponsor broke up with her. Just like that, the $5,000 vanished. And get this, $1,000. That is her base rate for a single unconventional meet. From a purely cash flow perspective, that's an incredibly high margin revenue stream. I mean, it takes very little time to make what most people earn in a week of hard labor. But that number totally masks the extreme volatility of the industry. It's not guaranteed, there's no contract, and as she just found out the hard way, it can disappear overnight with absolutely zero severance. Then you have $4,000. This was the monthly allowance retainer from one primary client. It really highlights just how high, but also how unbelievably volatile this money is. When you upgrade your entire lifestyle and build your baseline budget assuming a $4,000 check is just always going to clear, you are literally building a house on sand. The second that client walked away, her entire budget completely collapsed. All right, part 3, mounting consumer and auto debt. The sheer volume of these liabilities is honestly pretty severe. You've got a Bank of America card sitting at over $2,200, Credit One, Quicksilver, a retail card for Ulta, student loans for an orientation she went to before dropping out, and a $1,000 personal loan from her sister. Now, sure, none of these individual balances are in the hundreds of thousands, but you have to think about the minimum payments and the interest. She's constantly getting hammered with late fees, plus foreign transaction fees from trips to Vietnam. Her strategy? Pay off a tiny bit and then immediately max the cards right back out, basically treating a credit limit like it's a second income. And then we hit the brutal reality of negative equity. She financed a 2021 Toyota Corolla. Get this, she put a massive $7,000 down payment on this car. Money gifted by her dad, by the way. But despite that huge head start, she still owes over $15,500 on a car that's estimated to be worth maybe $12,800. She is almost $3,000 underwater. That literally means if she wanted to sell the car today just to escape the monthly payments, she'd have to write a check out of her own pocket just to hand over the keys. But wait, it gets worse. Beyond the traditional debt, there is a massive looming liability. She is actively withholding her rent. She hasn't paid her $1,600 share for the month. Why? Well, she's having a dispute with a new property management company over a missing garage fob and some potential mold. And look, those might be totally legitimate complaints. But just refusing to pay rent without going through the proper legal escrow channels, that is practically inviting an eviction notice onto an already bleeding balance sheet. Part 4. Chaotic monthly spending habits. Let's talk about the microtransactions. This is the definition of death by a thousand cuts. Even with her income dropping to literally zero, she somehow spent nearly $8,500 in a single month. How? Constant $25 hits for Pop Mart collectible figures. Endless TikTok shop hauls for things like steam mops. I mean, think about that for a second. Buying novelty vacuums off TikTok while you are actively facing eviction? No way. Add in puffer energy drinks from the liquor store and constant DoorDash orders, despite the fact that she's a professional chef sitting at home on medical leave. It is a lifestyle completely divorced from reality. And of course, we have to talk about the pets. Supporting 4 animals, 2 cats and 2 dogs, as this massive, inflexible burden to a cash flow that is already on life support. Listen to this. $250 a month just for pet insurance, $300 a month unspecialized pet food, and a recent out-of-nowhere $2,000 hit for a cat's bladder surgery. She actually admits she budgets roughly $1,000 a month strictly for her animals. When you're relying on unpredictable income, fixed operational costs like this will drag you under the absolute second things dry up. When she was asked about missing a payment on a tiny $137 Ulta card, she actually said, "I've been doing my payments. It just wasn't important to me because it's only $100. That right there, that dismissive mindset is exactly why late fees and interest are quietly eating her alive. She looks at a $100 balance and thinks it's beneath her, probably because she used to pull in $5,000 in cash from one guy. But guess what? Credit card companies don't care what you used to make. They care what you owe today, and they will absolutely wreck you for ignoring it. Which brings us to Part 5, the financial breaking point. Let's look at how this timeline actually plays out. In the past, she was thriving on a high dual income, which gave her a totally false sense of security. Today, both of those streams are gone. She's on unpaid medical leave, and she got dumped by her sponsor. And looking ahead to the future, her bare minimum survival expenses, rent, pet care, debt minimums, are well over $4,370 a month. Even if she manages to get approved for state disability at maybe $900 a week, she is mathematically underwater. When you combine zero income, mounting debt, and nonstop luxury spending, a breaking point isn't just likely, it is mathematically unavoidable without a massive behavioral shift. So, how long can a financial ecosystem survive when income drops to zero, but the luxury spending just keeps on going? Take away this harsh reality check on cash flow management. Ask yourself how fast a total lack of accountability can wipe out even a near 6-figure income. This explainer proves that making great money means absolutely nothing if your fixed expenses are sky high, your debts are piling up at crazy interest rates, and you have zero emergency fund. Without a massive reality check and a complete spending overhaul, this 20-year-old's finances are going to completely implode. So, what would be your very first move if you suddenly inherited this disaster of a balance sheet? Think about that and make sure your own financial house is in order.